The events of February 2026, Pakistan's airstrikes on Afghan territory, following the devastating suicide bombing at a Shiite mosque in Islamabad, have pushed South Asia into a dangerous new phase.
To understand the implications, we need to connect the dots. The fragile nature of both states, the escalatory ladder of conflict, the role of Islamic countries, and the spectre of extremist resurgence.
The trigger: on 6th of February 2026, the Khadija Tul Kubra Mosque in Islamabad was targeted during Friday prayers. A suicide bomber affiliated with the Islamic State Pakistan Province (ISKP) killed 32 worshippers and injured over 170. The attack was sectarian in nature, aimed at Pakistan's Shiite minority, and it exposed the state's inability to secure even its capital city. For Islamabad, the immediate narrative was clear. Militants were operating from Afghan soil, and retaliation was necessary. On 22nd February, Pakistan launched airstrikes in Nangarhar and Paktika provinces of Afghanistan, claiming to target camps of the Pakistani Taliban, TTP, and Islamic State Khorasan Province (ISKP). Yet, the strikes killed civilians, including women and children, and hit a madrasa. This escalatory step, cross-border strikes without coordination, marks a dangerous precedent. It signals Pakistan's willingness to externalize its internal security crisis, but at the cost of Afghan sovereignty. Both Afghanistan and Pakistan exhibit characteristics of failed states, though in different ways. In Afghanistan, since the Taliban takeover in 2021, governance has collapsed into factionalism.
Institutions are weak, the economy is in free fall, and the Taliban struggle to control ISKP insurgency. The state lacks legitimacy, internationally and domestically, leaving vast, ungoverned spaces for militants.
Compared to last year, prices have increased a lot. A bottle of cooking oil is around 2,300 Afghanis, and the small one costs 600 Afghanis, while a sack of rice costs about 4,000 Afghanis. We cannot afford to buy rice. It has been a long time since we last bought any. Prices are very high, and we, the poor, have nothing. Nothing is within our means.
While Pakistan retains formal institutions, it faces chronic instability, sectarian violence, economic crises. The inability to control militant groups like TTP and ISKP undermine its sovereignty.
The Islamabad Mosque attack was a stark reminder that the state cannot guarantee basic security.
At first there was gunfire, 5-6 fires. Then there was silence. After 15-20 seconds there was an explosion. Chaos took place after the blast. People were running here and there. I did not feel I was hit because my back became numb. I came to know later that my back was hit as I came out.
This Imam Barga is very crowded during Friday prayers. So in my opinion, the administration and security personnel should have ensured security here. The lack of security led to this tragic incident, which should never have happened anywhere.
Together, these failures create a vicious cycle. Pakistan blames Afghanistan for harboring militants, while Afghanistan accuses Pakistan of violating sovereignty. Neither state has the capacity to stabilize itself, let alone the region. Then there is the escalatory ladder. Terrorists strike inside Pakistan, often with bases in Afghanistan. Pakistan retaliates with airstrikes, hitting both militants and civilians. The Afghan Taliban vows retaliation potentially through proxy attacks or border clashes.
Militancy could spread into Iran, Central Asia, and into India's bordering regions, destabilizing South Asia. Each rung of this ladder increases the risk of open conflict, and the absence of strong state institutions makes de-escalation difficult. The Islamic world faces a dilemma.
On one hand, countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey condemn sectarian violence and instability.
On the other, the vacuum in Afghanistan and Pakistan risks creating fertile ground for extremist resurgence. Islamic State Khorasan Province, ISKP, is already emboldened by the Islamabad Mosque attack. It thrives on sectarian divisions. Civilian casualties from Pakistan's strikes may fuel recruitment.
The Afghan Taliban, while nominally in power, face internal fractures. Hardline factions may escalate anti-Pakistan rhetoric, while moderates struggle to maintain control.
The narrative of a religion under attack could resonate across the region, drawing foreign fighters back into Afghanistan and Pakistan, reminiscent of the 1990s and early 2000s. Islamic countries, particularly Iran and Saudi Arabia, fear that sectarian violence could spill into their own territories. Iran, with its Shiite majority, is especially sensitive to attacks on Shiite communities in Pakistan. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, worries about extremist narratives undermining its own legitimacy. The crisis reverberates across South Asia and beyond.
China seeks stability for its Belt and Road projects. Instability threatens the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, and risks militant spillover into Xinjiang. Russia is concerned about extremist infiltration into Central Asia. Moscow has offered mediation but lacks deep leverage.
India watches Pakistan's instability because of the continued risks of militant spillover into Kashmir.
The United States maintains limited involvement post-2021 withdrawal, but fears Afghanistan becoming a safe haven for global terrorism again.
But that was a very strong attack, would you say? It was a very strong attack. That wasn't like Jimmy Carter. That wasn't like Sleepy Joe Biden in Afghanistan, where he had no idea, had no clue what he was doing. Take the equipment. You know, I was getting out of Afghanistan. We were going to get out with dignity, strength. They feared us, but we shouldn't have been there, frankly.
Who can stabilize the situation? That's a complex question. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, provides a framework, but internal rivalries limit its effectiveness.
China and Russia are best positioned to mediate given their ties to both Pakistan and the Taliban. The US remains a background player, while Islamic countries may push for sectarian de-escalation. Yet without genuine cooperation, mediation risks being symbolic rather than substantive. The Islamabad Mosque attack, Pakistan's retaliatory strikes, and Afghanistan's failed governance are not isolated events.
They are interconnected symptoms of a deeper malaise. The collapse of state authority in both countries, the persistence of militant networks, and the inability of regional powers to enforce stability. The escalatory ladder is already in motion, and unless checked, it risks dragging South Asia into prolonged instability.
Afghanistan and Pakistan present a dual failed state scenario. One collapsed under Taliban rule, the other hollowed out by militancy and sectarianism and a deep state. The February 2026 crisis highlights how fragile the region is and how quickly violence can escalate.
For Islamic countries, the fear is clear. The resurgence of extremist groups like ISKP and Taliban hardliners could destabilize the wider Muslim world. For greater powers, the concern is equally stark. Instability in South Asia threatens global security, trade, and counterterrorism. The path forward requires recognition of the failed state dynamics at play. Without rebuilding institutions and addressing sectarian divides, any peace will be temporary. The region stands at a crossroads. Either step back from the escalatory ladder or risk plunging into a new era of militancy and conflict. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you again next week with more raging issues. Until then, it's goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Mark Lynn signing off. Take care and stay safe. Namaskar.